Hello, everybody. I am Joe Ray, and I have 15 questions that I've never been asked before. And here comes the answers. If you had all the money in the world, what would you build and why? Hey, I love the Porsche Targa. I love the Mercedes Maybach. Ferraris are cool out there too, but so is the 66 Buick Riviera. But after building so many lowriders, I'm not saying you really get bored, but if I had all the money and you need that today to build any lowrider right now, I would probably build a 1961, 62 Lincoln Continental, the Kennedy car. I would make it suicide doors, but only two, not the four. Extend the quarter panel. Take a roof, a roadster type roof, and slant it. Bring the windshield down just a little bit. It will be a removable roof. It will be one of a kind because when you look back at it all the time, Viklas are accepted into our culture of building, but so is the Kennedy car. No one ever downplays that car as every lowrider out there loves that car. It's luxury, it's history. We know what happened November 1963, but that is the car to build. I would like to build something like that, though it would only be a two-seater. I understand that, but I think that it has enough body lines and culture and style to build something like that. Of all the cars that you have built, which is your favorite and why? Like a father with his kids, I have no favorites. Dress to Kill was my first. That was everything to me. There's nothing like the first time. When you go back, everything was so innocent back at that time. The brand new candy red Lincoln that I had, paper plated, that color, yeah, it's one of my favorites. Changing it up to shocking pink to be different and going into Hollywood. I miss Hollywood. I should have never taken off the paint because of a challenge. I did that with that car. But I went into Las Vegas. Part of all the theme cars I've owned, Las Vegas to me, for a luxury car and for its time and everything that went into that, including my club and everybody who helped build that car, means everything to me. Can I compare it with this guy behind me? No. What about the Eldorado? It's a one-off. It's a front-wheel drive. It has the shape of the Grand Prix, the Riviera, the Lincoln Continental, all in one. And no one's ever really built one because the tires and wheels would stick out. I transformed it into rear-wheel drive, suicided doors, and chopped it in today's standards. It's a resto mod. The Riviera, the newer one that I just chopped, you can't just chop those cars. The Engel brothers helped me lay the window down, shorten the back window, drop it all down. Am I in love with that car totally? Yeah, I've always been in love with Rivieras. It was my first car. I still think to this day I could drive a Riviera blindfolded and I know how to back it in without mirrors and everything. And it just, when you sit in that car, it takes me back to 1975 all over again when I had it. So I built another one, decided to go stock. From stock, I went to full custom on it again. Shouldn't have done that. I got a pink and multicolored layout on it. Makes me think I'm 26 again. But is it my favorite too? No, probably the next car, if I have a chance, God willing, that I build, that will be my favorite. Maybe.
So which one is it?
All right, so audience wants to know which one is my favorite. This guy behind me. Dress to Kill. My next question is, when building your cars, what is the most difficult process you go through, even with all your connections that you have? Connections get you nowhere because they're friends or their family or it's somebody in your club and they're going to help you. They're going to do it for free. They're not getting paid. Sometimes you get what you pay for. People mean well when they help you out, and it does. They invest a lot into your heart, your soul. They're part of all your memories. But when I look at this question, the most difficult thing you can do is try to have patience, and I've never had patience. I have visions. I can see paint jobs. I can see a paint job. I can see the colors. I could see the car modified and exactly how it's going to look without closing my eyes. And I know what I want. To go through the early beginnings of stripping down the paint, removing the frame, that's one thing. But just to gain inspiration, when you've built a lot of cars, you lose that effort. I mean, you get lazy, you get bored. There's nothing, there's no challenges out there. It's hard. That's why I built a different car that no one has ever had, because just like anybody out there right now that's doing an undercarriage, it's like building a car completely. It could take you 2 to 5 years just to do an undercarriage. Answering this question, the way technology is, and in other worlds of car builds, hot rods, muscle cars, all these famous designers that are out there, when you see what they do and you try to take a little bit of what they're thinking and a little bit of their designs and just throw it in a bowl, mix it, and come up with something else that's lowrider, because we are different from them and we are better. You got to look at that. If your build starts to take too much time, before you know it, someone's already come out with that idea you have, and then you got to change your plans midway. And you can't be altering your car. You can't just be throwing in band-aids. They cannot be an afterthought. It's hard. You need this car to be built. If it's a major car, it has to be built. If it's custom and classic, it takes about 5 years and a whole lot of money, but you got to make it your own, out of your own personality, your own idea, your own style, and put it there. You can see the finished product, but when you tell your story as you're building it and people see all the weaknesses, the metal being welded, rust being removed, the body work, having to do the body work over again. I mean, the color coordination, the style that goes with the body, the interior that comes into play that complements the paint and that style of that car. Ferraris are not 4x4s. Every car out there takes a certain wheel. Every car takes a certain paint job. Every car should have the same design that captures their past and today's. They should be. The Resto mod is a perfect definition of how to build a car today. The most difficult part in everything I said in all of this process is the time, the money, and the belief that the person that's performing that craftsmanship is experienced enough and is not going to take you to jail for 20 years. Body shop, interior, paint, engine compartment, chrome shop, all of that. That's the most difficult part, is that you have to depend on someone else. You have to delegate, and that's impossible, especially for me. What got you into low riding? Well, I grew up in Monterey Park. East LA was down the hill. Schwinn Stingrays. Went to high school. There were low riders in the parking lot. Now there were a lot more just a block away, being Whittier Boulevard. I was an artist. I like colors. I had a scholarship for commercial art to go to UCLA, and got married at a young age, and had to work, but I didn't. I always still wanted to play with toys, and my camaraderie with some of my friends in high school that I went to elementary school with, they were into lowriders. But I love muscle cars. My high school days, there was the Mach 1, the Oldsmobile 442, the Trans Am, anything that Dodge and Chrysler Chargers, Challengers had to come out with, Daytonas, Corvettes. I saw them all, and I love that. I love speed. I love that styling. I love the noise of that motor. I love the handling, especially in today's cars. But they don't look anything. Ferrari or Lamborghini do not look like a lowrider. You could take a lot of lowriders, as soon as you lower them down 13, 14 inches and they touch the ground, you put the wheels on there that tuck that wheel well. The dynamics of that body style stand out above all of those cars that are out that way. And I got into that because of the elaborate paint jobs that you can put on those cars. They look just even wilder. You can't paint a Ferrari candy red or a candy lime green. They just don't look right. But on a 66 Riviera, even a Cadillac 79 convertible, when you throw a candy or mellow patterns on something like that, you get to explore. Get to become an artist with a canvas that's made out of metal. And that's why I went into lowriding. I just liked I liked the building of model cars, and I graduated into the adult model cars, and that was lowriding for me. There's nothing like having your car painted in the body shop, getting in a certain magazine, or winning that trophy, or getting recognized at a car show. After that, next build. And it's not, you don't have to just dwell on one paint job. You could keep the same car and rebuild it again and again and change the colors, the interior, modify it, keep it. Hey, I like these cars too. I'm kind of bored of that one. And you could jump on to your next. And the real reason why, and I'm glad I'm into low riding, is because from 1956, and I'm not excluding the bombs, all the way up to the 1980s, in those 30 something years, if you want to do the map, there are no styles like those GM built, Ford built, Pontiac, Buick built cars that compare with any other cars even today. That's why. Another question is, why did I choose Lifestyle Car Club? Growing up in high school with some of my friends, some went to the Bachelor's LTD. They joined car clubs. They had lowriders. I didn't. The Imperials, Russell Poblano, brand new. It had an effect on me. Everybody knows that. His Broham LTD right out of the dealership. Raw Gross, New Life, his 72, his 65 Impala that he had. He had a beautiful orange 72 Caprice. Gold before that I liked. I saw the group wherever I went. I saw the Latin Lords. I saw the Sons of Soul. I saw many car clubs out there. Rainbow Bridge, I've always said, from the group car club. Some of the Imperial cars that definitely had an impact on me. And I wanted to probably think about joining a car club, but I wanted not to join the Imperials because they were all status quo. They were kind of set as the upper echelon car club. So was the group at the end. I've always liked that underdog role. And I'll always remember that my friend Rawl, who I was closer to at that time, when everybody separated and kind of went their own ways in senior year, whether it was the Imperials or they went to the Bachelor's LTD, whatever car clubs it was, it looks like everybody just split apart from each other. And Raw was closer to me. He was from New Life. Unfortunately, they had broke up at the time when I was interested in getting into low riding and buying a car. And New Life had just broke up. He told me hang in there a couple weeks, and they came out with a car club by the name of, well, they had three names. I like Lifestyle. I hope that I thought it was a great name. And they did come out with that name. And when they had their first meeting, I was up there at the Quiet Canyon by the Arches, 1975, second week of July. And I introduced myself and my car to become a member, in which I got voted in 4 months. Year and a half later, I was president. And here I am now. What is my favorite part about building a lowrider? Being in the paint booth, making sure you don't change. I don't want lime green. Let's just go burgundy. It's too late. Paint's mixed. I'm ready to shoot. That's fun. I think wiring down your car is major because it changes the whole style of the car. It kind of lowers it, so to speak. It adds class by the wire wheels, the small 520 tire. All of that just personifies who you are and what you're building, a lowrider. Of course, the next step would be you have to lower that automatically. After you lower it, besides waxing and all that, you always want the right sounds inside that car. And then from there, you go on. Do you cut the bumpers? Do you accessorize it more? Do you put a moonroof in it? Do you put a sunroof? Whatever style that you like. It just continues on from there. And then there's that one day that you want that pearl paint job. Or maybe you've been past that and you want a candy. Or you're beyond that and you want multicolors, flakes, you want a wild paint job, or you want to theme it. The interior, seeing the interior design complement the whole picture, because without interior, when you walk up to any lowrider, the paint job pulls you in like a magnet. You step back and look at the body style, year and make, and then you look at the interior. The chrome under the hood and the undercarriage and all that other stuff, my favorite part about building a car is bringing it home from the paint job, putting the wires back on it, and doing whatever it takes to get in there and lower that thing on the floor, put the right music in the garage, grab something nice and cold to drink, and just sit there and look at what you just destroyed. That's it. At what point in your life did you realize you can turn your passion of lowriding into a career? I never did. I've just been here a long time, so to speak. So I've experienced the ups and downs, the struggles of building a car. Things are way different today. They're a lot more expensive, yes. I've always said I like, the lacquer paint jobs back then, and what you look at the perspectives, how deep they are with the old pearls, the new paint, but back then they faded. The new paints today, they don't fade. Going back and looking at this as a career, I think that once anybody out there gets into lowriding and you're hooked, it's the drug and you need to score. I think you make a career out of it because of the sacrifices, and you got to go finding parts, eBay, swap meets, You got to find the right car first. You got to get your set of wheels. You got to save up money to go and continue adding to this special build that you're doing. For a career, I've always been religious. And you can say probably I realized at the time when I've been around for decades that I get hired into Lowrider magazine as an editor. Now, I was good at school at spelling bees with all the girls. I used to compete with them, but to come in and do it, to become an editor for Lowrider, I didn't have that experience, but I knew about lowriding. And I was hired because of that experience and then later taught to become an editor, so to speak. It was a pulpit for me to preach everything that I saw, what I've gone through, the struggles. And instead of being from one car club lifestyle, it became all one big major car club with thousands of car clubs in all their chapters. I had to become neutral. So that I realized getting there, the first one at the office to get there and then leave, at least for the first couple of years, the last one to leave, I knew I had a career in it. And I know I had to be very careful on everything I said. I couldn't just be one of the guys hanging out at a car club meeting, having a couple beers, listening to music, and just coming off the wall and saying what I felt. I had to really rethink and everything. But at the end of the day, the career was easy for me because like all one car club, we're all one builder, all of us. We all have different names. We're all from different car clubs. We've all built special, unique cars, but we've gone through the same struggles, and those are careers. So, whatever I say, people have been through that. They recognize that and they understand me a lot better and they respect it. When they say, well, you're a legend, nah, I don't like hearing stuff like that. That is not me. Did I make a career out of it? Yeah, because I wake up before I brush my teeth, I talk about low riding. It's 24 hours, 8 days a week if you want to with me. It's become a career. It's become my way of life. It's a religion for me. Once it became a career, what was the biggest hurdle you had to overcome? Oh, there were a lot of them. There were deadlines for the magazine. Every 3 weeks, we had to build a complete magazine. 33% had to be built the first week, the second week. 66, you had to depend on a staff to get photographs, to cover stories. We had deadlines every day. We had roundtable meetings, sales department. The publisher, Rudy Rivas, was an ass back then. I mean, he demanded things. I was old fashioned. The job never started, never ended for him. It was his life. And this is the way he taught everybody. I had to come in and I thought I could fill some of the voids, but then I started to understand being on the outside looking in that now I was on the inside looking out when I had that job. There were a lot of difficulties back then, but I had to go with the flow before I had my first argument, even with him or everybody else. And I started to demand things and said no, because I could never forget the outside looking in. And I wanted to make him understand it in our views and never forget who we are, that I didn't change, whether I worked for a company that was corporate or not. I was still from the streets. I was in a car club. I was a president. So I had to eventually gain enough respect that I could say, hey, I got something to say. And then I argued. We carpooled together. We argued all the time, but we came to a happy medium and we made the magazine a lot better. He understood my vision. I understood his vision. We joined together as one. I was publisher one day. He was the editor one day, chief editor, vice versa every day. Even when we had our good times and work ended at 3 o'clock or it ended at 6 o'clock, pull in here, we pull up a napkin and it was the next thing. Been there, done that. What's next? It's always the future of low riding. We had to dress proper because the whole world was. I learned so many things, low rider etiquette from him, and it taught me well. Not just going to car shows and traveling and meeting all these different people. Were there different difficult times? Yeah, I could say I didn't deserve any of my paychecks because I loved what I was doing. It was a hobby, it was a sport, it was my culture, it was my life. It was beyond that. But if there were difficulties, every day we had to keep it alive. Low riding had to be kept alive, and no better way to do that than with the Bible itself, and that was the magazine. What do you think is the greatest lowrider of all time? Well, good question. No, everybody's going to always go back to Las Vegas and Local 64. who won. I've heard so many different stories, and I've explained it every which way. Even when I was contested to run the car, it had already ran before. Everybody's gonna say this happened, that happened. Local 64 supports Lowrider magazine. Joe Ray and his club only come around Lowrider when they feel like it. And I understand all of that. Being part of Lowrider magazine, you always support those who support you more. You have to, in a way, sometimes. Asking a question like this, which is the best lowrider? You know who won that day between Local 64 and Las Vegas? We both won. Look what it did for lowriding. I'm not going to tell you my car was better than his car. In his mind and in his heart, he knows his car is better than mine. That's okay. There's plenty of badass lowriders out there. Dress to Kill was ahead of its time. Lethal Weapon. Let's never forget what Lethal Weapon came out and brought out. Brandy Mandis was another one. Chris Rourke and what he's done with his cars. You can't compare Las Vegas to Chris Rourke's cars now, or you can't compare it to any of the latest Lowrider of the Year cars and what they're building. It's another level now. The industry has changed. Besides the paint and everything, look where our hydraulics are. It's not open up my trunk and it looks like a dinosaur was in there kicking back. It's just a whole industry, the innovations, what we see now. It's hard to compare Will Chamberlain to Michael Jordan to Kobe Bryant to the new NBA stars that are out there today. It is not fair. If you want to take it back into the 80s, I'll tell you which ones were the best cars. I'm never going to tell you any of my car builds or my next car build is better than anybody's, because the next car that's better than mine makes my next build even better. And I thank them for that. There's no such thing as the best lowrider out there. There's a lot of badass lowriders out there, and I can call out 50 of them, but none of them were better than any other and never will be. What is the greatest era of lowriding? Is it the decade of the 60s? Was it the 70s? I love the 70s, especially the middle part. All the music was there. The cars were only 3, 4 years old at the most. East LA got, for me, East LA 1972, all the way up to probably 75, 76. Those were the times. The Glass House, the Lincoln Continentals, the Mark V's, the Buick Rivieras, the Grand Prix, the 77 Cadillacs, way before there were even convertibles. Just the music, you didn't need an 8-track or a cassette player. You could just turn on the radio. Santana had a new song. Led Zeppelin had one. All of that music, all of that era, when you go back and see these styles, years and makes of these cars, it always will take you back there. To me, that greatest era, no, the disco, when that came in, car clubs, the way they changed from gangs on wheels, things changed completely. Everybody got along with each other. There were 100 more times more car clubs back then in the 80s. 90s were good. We saw the roller coaster parts of it. The shows just got bigger. The magazine just kicked off around that time and came back. The Japanese rapping, videos and all that. You could take the next decade and say that that was the greatest one, even 10 years ago. Hey, for me, Hall of Fame, editor of Lowrider magazine, president of Lifestyle Car Club, my next car build, that was a great era when I look at everything and how everybody traveled and how the competition and the bars of the standards of lowrider builds, how everything, we bridged the gap, and how lowriding was accepted. It wasn't stereotyped as much. And I'm going to go back 10 years. If I wanted to do eras, let's go to now. Why don't we just do that now? Is this a better era than ever? We're more than worldwide. Your neighbor that's a cop may have a lowrider in his garage. Things have changed. Yes, there's all the little jealousies and the greed and the little fame whores that are out there right now, promoters and all the little circus, and it's about themselves and all. But that comes part of the whole game too. It's because this era, even with social media, there's goods and bads about it. The era we're in today, it's not, oh, we're in Japan now. Oh, it's worldwide. We got chapters all over the world. There's more car clubs. We're still building the same cars. They're more expensive now. It's harder. Greatest era, probably for me to go back to my early first decade, I think, because it allows me to live through this era now and enjoy what we're going through. And there's another era that's coming. So if I had to say, yeah, I mean, growing up young and going back molded me and made me the person I am today. So for me, that era was the greatest, the 70s. What was the most you ever paid for a paint job? Wow. Gary Baca was one of the greatest ever at single color paints. He wasn't afraid to use pearl white and shoot a candy over it, though it took him 2 days to shoot it. Murano pearl under that. Of all my car builds ever, when you ask what was the most I ever paid for a paint job, not enough. Even at those times, the guy that told me that he wanted to do the murals for $300, Ben Baca, his brother, and I thought, man, you're 1 year older than me and you want $300 to do murals? No, I want $300 just for the guy in the trunk. I want $600 to do the sides. And I laughed. I go, this guy's crazy. There's no way he's a year older than me. He could paint like that. While his brother was charging 2 grand to shoot a candy, and eventually it became 3,600 for my shocking pink paint job. That was a lot of money. How do I compare it in dollars and cents today? Probably $30,000 paint job back then for a straight candy. Easy. And he was the best. He had a lineup of everybody. But today you spend $40 and $50,000 for a paint job. I don't understand it. I know that the materials cost $10,000, and I know what the body and paint go from a car now that's not only 5 years old or brand new like my Lincoln. They're 30, 40 years old, 50 years old, and they came with wear and tear and damage. And you got to fix all of that before you think paint job. And that all comes into the price of paint. How long I don't mind spending 20, 30,000 for a paint job, but do I get it in 2 months? Or I got to wait 5 years to get that? Because now the cost is even doubled on us now. And that's why those little phrases come up with paint jail. How much have I ever paid? Compared, Riviera was about 35. The new one was about 35, 40. My Eldorado is probably worth about 50, 60 compared to what I did to that car. My Vegas car today, poor Mario, the candy factory, he charged me 3,500 to do the Vegas car. I went back, that money was well spent on somebody else's car he had to catch up with. So I gave him another car. I gave him another 3,500. And finally I got it painted. When it came to murals, thank God I had somebody in the club that helped me out with that price too. Other than that, Las Vegas, you could say Las Vegas for its time and the way those colors that Mario created on that, there's about 100 cars that run through butterscotch, teals, pinks, and a little bit of yellow. Everybody does that now. I mean, I'm not saying everybody's copied it, because before even Mario came around and did that paint job, he was copying somebody else. That paint job's worth $100,000 by itself today, and it's still all there, just like this guy here. What sometimes a paint job will cost, what it costs you sometimes, it costs you about 2, 3 years of work, of labor that you got to go your paychecks. Don't forget everybody who helped you make it what it was, that helped you, even the color signing and all. It could be a lifetime. Some of these paint jobs, you sacrifice more than your soul to get. So the cost, there's no value. There's no value. Besides money, there's just more into it than just pulling out your wallet and throwing down a stack of $100 bills. Which car was your biggest nightmare to build? The Lincoln was easy, it was brand new. This guy was only 2 years old and I did it a few times. I'd have to say Eldorado. Eldorado's a one-off car. It's a one and only. I think the Imperials, I know the Imperials had a tangerine one back in the days. They had a 68, 69 Cadillac Eldorado. The thing about it was like the Toronado and the wheel wells, the tires stuck out on them because they were front wheel drive cars. They had leaf springs in the back like a trailer. So no one ever built those. And if you put a deep dish wire wheel or a Krager on it, they would stick out another 3 inches. So it looked like a tractor coming down the road. But no one ever envisioned building one of those because everybody thought, yeah, nice body style. But if you lay those things and picture them laying down on the floor with wires tucked in there, I took an Eldorado, a picture of a owner's portfolio that they give you when you go back into 1968, 69, and 70 for the Cadillac Eldorado. And I cut that car out, used scissors, cut out the wheel wells, went through Lowrider magazine and found cars in that scale and that size and cut out the wire wheels and put them in that car. And it looked badass, but it looked old and dated because of the roof lines back in those days were a lot higher. The newer cars that they have slanted, more windshields, they're more aerodynamic. So I thought, well, I'm going to cut 1/4 of an inch off this picture off the roof and lower it down. But now the windshield's standing up this high. So I laid it back, made the roof shorter. Scott's taped it all together and said, wow, this is what I want. I was excited and explained it to everybody, but explaining it and buying four of them and trying to build them was another project by itself. You have to change the frames. You could put a Riviera frame, you have to cut out the whole body to drop in another frame. You know how much work and money and time that's going to take? You can't pay somebody all the money in the world to go and do that for you, because it becomes a project in his garage or his shop, and they don't touch it forever because it looks like a piece of crap. Now look at it, it's rusting. Yeah, it's easy to chop top and lay it down and lay it there, but you got to go and weld all that stuff up and do that. I tried 2, 3 times to build a car like that, finally did that. We took the rails, the center part of that frame, had a mini truckers go out there and C-notch a frame like they do on their mini trucks. Dave Engel, God bless you. Tack that frame on with Go Easy, go to the front and put an 84 clip so I wouldn't have to move around the bumpers. That was the hardest thing I ever did. The easiest was just to lay the car down on the floor and just tuck in wires on it and get a view, because I always wanted to see what those cars actually really looked at like. And we went through a lot of little trials and errors, but once that was done, took that frame off, Kenny wrapped that complete frame for me. Lewis, House of Pain, dedicated more to that car than his own builds. And that frame was powder coated. Could have chromed it, could have polished it, could have done what the lowriders are, what the hot rods are doing out there today with a frame like that. But I wasn't competing for lowrider of the year, and I couldn't win anyways because it would have been fixed. So I slapped the frame back on, jumped ahead, and put an LSA engine in it. Doing an LS, a supercharged engine in a Cadillac Eldorado, is not that easy. Yeah, it drops in, you move the bridge back for the tranny that goes with it, but you got to change the rear end. You got to change everything. So I had an LS build I had to do next. All while this car is tacked like a Frankenstein with a chop top and laid back window. And I still want to do suicide doors, but hey, I want to paint that thing right now. And I went through 3 body shops just to get to that point. But to get the mechanics and the hydraulics out of the way and put that roof that I wanted, to see-through roof, and lay it down on the floor was the biggest thing in my life of all my car builds, because I never saw one of these cars ever. I only envisioned it, cut it out with scissors and Scotch tape. The day I saw that, it inspired me to go head on with that car and finish it. Then I couldn't wait for the body work to get done, for it to be primered, thanks to the Coronel, when it was water sanded. Picking a color for it, I had to be unique. It was a different car. It had to be glamorous. It was a one of a kind, iconic car before it was even painted. And of course, I went with all the brand new CTS, the Cadillacs, all of that stuff. I just threw that interior in there, did enough molding and modifications on this car. And Paul Stoll went out there and painted a beautiful candy red that fit the style, make, and year if this was a lowrider, and made it what it is today. And there are a lot of people help contribute to this build. So beautiful. I probably only showed it a couple times. I'm afraid to wax it because I might wear it out. That car is like a relic to me once it was done. And for me, that was the most difficult car. Sure, I could have jacked it up in the air and did everything to it underneath. I could have done things that the guys are out there doing today in all automotive industries, and it could have been the lowrider of all times. But you know what? That would have taken another 10 years and more difficulties. What was the longest time it took you to build a car? All of my builds have been around 5 years or less. Hey, I have no patience. I've never been afraid to pull my car out of a shop. You can only threaten somebody with a good time before your car still has not moved from that shop, the spot in the corner, the space it's taking up, that I will go in there and just say, oh yeah, you think I wasn't for real? I'm going somewhere else. I wasn't afraid to ask for permission to bring it back to some of those shops. But upholstery, I've waited for a year and a half, even with Bob and Sons one time. And Bob and Sons would take a couple months. Paint jobs, if I'm going to strip a car down to 3 times, still took about a year to 2 years to get it painted. Upholstery's always been the easy way out. You could go to California and get it done in a month. It's just the chroming and the putting together. The outside part, I could knock that off quick. The buffing out, all that's all easy. But I think that every build, especially today, man, with the cars being a lot older, the classics, the restorations, they should only take 5 years or less. Because now as I got older, whether I have no patience or not, I have to slow down my build. Heck, if I'm putting something together, laying down, putting on a fender molding, I don't want to get up from there. It's kind of comfortable, especially now my cars look a lot better from the side because I laid down the wax them, if you want to say. So that patience kind of, it's there now more than it was before. But I see no reason, even for the money they're getting, that cars cannot, for everybody out there, you can't build a car within 5 years. That's the most. The next question is, why is community big for you in low riding? Community is worldwide. I wake up as a low rider. You yourself wake up as one. Whatever I do that's good or bad reflects on you. Whatever you do, it's vice versa. We are stereotyped. I'm not going to say it's racist. Inside the world of low riding, there's no racism at all. We're all in this struggle together. It doesn't matter if you're white, brown, black, Asian, does not matter. In our culture, the only colors that matter are candy red, candy purple, blue, and orange. Community, respect. I think it's very important that law enforcement understands who we are, even the judicial system, even the person that likes a Camaro and frowns on lowriders. I think that's more of gaining respect. We are all reflections of each other. When you go out there, you walk out your door, whatever you do that day as a lowrider, you're defined as a lowrider, good or bad. You're wearing colors on your back, the car you drive. Hey, the car that's in your driveway that takes you to work. You are always watched with a magnifying glass. When we do charitable things in our community, all the different car clubs, whether it's for autism, if it's for cancer, when you're a cop out there writing tickets, but you got a lowrider in your garage, that's important. When you're a doctor or bringing babies into this world and you have a lowrider, when you're a school teacher, a woman school teacher, when you are a judge, a military war hero that comes back because what got him through is he wanted to come home and build his car. That is everything. That's community. I have been in a position where I can preach from a pulpit wherever I go through my experiences, through all the different walks of life I have come upon. I've heard everybody's story. Genuinely, if you pull me over to the side and we do have a conversation, we could be there for 20 minutes, a half hour. We could come back and continue that conversation, or we'll meet again and go. But I have to understand what you go through, that we are not all the same, that we all have different struggles, that we all have different wallets, that we all like different colors, that we are all different colors and we're all mixed together. That's what low riding and community is all about. Why did you start the Wired Down podcast? The reasons for starting the Wired Down podcast is because history repeats itself. The show is about documenting our history and culture so that we may cement the new generation and our future. There are 58 episodes, 58 powerful stories of our upbringings, our influences, why we do what we do. There are no turning back on any of these stories. It's a struggle. It's a sacrifice. It's a religion. And everybody has a chance to come in this studio or studios now and tell their story because they become influential. They become emotional, but they're real, true life stories, not just about dynasties and legacies. It also reflects on stories of those who have done their time, have never been recognized, that maybe didn't have as much money in their wallet as others. It's about different builds and styles from all over the place through all walks of life. Women, men, it's about family. It's always going to be about our custom and classic culture. That's why the Wired Down Show exists, and I'll get more into that. Just thank you for all your support on this show. Always remember to like, follow, share, and subscribe because this is your place too. Thank you.